What's up guys, welcome back to another episode of Adventures in Rice, where we look at ways that you can live better for less. And today we're going to be looking at how you can save money by fixing your broken PlayStation 4 controller. So let's go! So if you're a console gamer, you know that controllers don't come cheap. A PlayStation 4 controller like this can cost £50 or £60 here in the UK. So if they break, it can sometimes be a struggle trying to find the money to replace them. One of the most common issues with the PlayStation 4 controller is what is known as drift. And this is when your analog sticks start activating without you touching the controller. And this leads to your character looking around the screen automatically and things like that. So what we're going to do today is I'm going to show you how to open up the controller, we're going to clean up the insides and fix that controller drift and hopefully save you some money in the meantime. So you're not going to need many tools, all you will need is a Phillips head screwdriver, either a prying tool or a flathead screwdriver, some rubbing alcohol and something to clean the controller with. So what we're going to do, take your Phillips head screwdriver and we're going to take out these 4 screws in the back, one in each corner. Okay, you might need to clean out the screw holes if they're quite old controllers and got a bit of shit in there. And you might have to press quite hard just to get the screwdriver to engage. Avoid letting the screwdriver spin and chewing up the metal. Okay, so now that we have the 4 screws out, we need to separate the front from the back. It pretty much pulls apart, but there are some clips. They are just underneath the headphone socket in the front here, and just to the sides of the triggers here and here. So what we're going to do is pull up the controller until we get a gap. I like to put in a small screwdriver just to hold that gap open there. Push the flathead screwdriver or the prying tool if you have one in there. Push it in, give it a little wiggle, and you'll hear it pop open. We're then going to do exactly the same at the sides, just where the triggers are. Take your prying tool or your flathead screwdriver, slide it through the gap, give it a little wiggle, and you'll hear it pop open. Like that. Once both sides are done, you should be able to pull the controller in half. Don't rip it apart straight away because there is this cable, this ribbon cable connecting the 2 halves together. So be careful not to pull too hard on that. And then all you have to do is, you can use your fingers just to pull that ribbon cable out. It is just pushed in, so there's no clip or anything. You just pull that out and that will separate the bottom from the top. Okay, so once the back is off, we want to get into the analog sticks, but obviously the battery and the board are in the way. The battery is actually just sat. The battery just balanced in this little block here, so it does easily come out. All you want to do is take the connection out where the battery is. The black is at the top, it's worth remembering. They only go in one way, but it's worth remembering at the end. You can pull that out with your fingernails as well. Always avoid pulling any cable by the wires as well. You always want to be pulling by the connection itself. Once that's done, we're into the back. Take your Phillips head screwdriver again, and there's one small screw just in the back here. So we'll take that off. Once that's done, the battery housing will just lift straight out. Being careful not to lose the screw there. Okay, now we have exposed the board. There's one more cable we need to take out, and that's this little small one at the top here, which goes, I believe, to the touchpad. Again, it's just pushed in, just like the other one, so you can pull that out. I'd avoid using any tools, just in case you damage it. So there is a small groove there you can use to get your fingernail in and pull it out. So all you have to do is just give that a little wiggle. And that will come straight out. Okay, so now we've got the final cable out. We need to flip the board over or get access to the other side of the board. There's 2 ways to do that. You can either pull the board up a little bit, and if it's loose enough, you can just spin it round and work on it from there. Bearing in mind that the feedback motors on the side connected by these 2 small wires on each side, so you don't want to damage those. The other way, depending on how your controller's built, if it's loose enough, you can just pull on the board and the whole thing will come apart like that. Okay, so now we are down to the board itself. The analog sticks, they just come straight off. You might want to clean them if you've got like fucking sausage fingers or something. But essentially what we need to do now is we need to get into these green pads here. Behind these green pads are the sensors for the analog sticks. And this is where the drift problem occurs. Inside these sensors, it gets quite dirty and then it doesn't give you the proper connection that you need. So what we're going to do is pry open the tops of these green pieces. Now bear in mind that these are components that are welded into the board here, on these pins here and here. So they are attached to the bottom. Now you can take your small prying tool or your flathead screwdriver and just pry the top open gently. Once it's open, you can use your fingernail just to push them open a bit further. Once you're in, you will see this small plastic white piece and the sensor is actually behind that. So you can just take that straight out. If you've got some needle nose pliers, you can use those. And what you'll notice when you take this out is that the metal ring that goes around the white plastic piece actually comes forward a little bit at the top here. Now that's important to remember because that's the top when you put it back in. So behind the white plastic piece you have this black ring. Now that's your sensor in there. So what you want to do is take your ear buggler, put it in whatever solution you've got, take off the excess, and then you're going to want to gently work your way around that sensor in the back of the green plastic piece there. And what you can see is it picks up all the dirt there that was causing all the problems and causing the controller to drift. Okay, so once that's all clean, you're going to take your white plastic piece and put it back in. You'll notice that the axle part of the controller, the analog stick here, actually fits into the small hole in the white piece. So that'll give you some indication as to how it goes back in. There we go. Once that's in, you're just going to push the green cover back over and you push it with your fingers until you hear it click. Now, as you've probably noticed, there are 3 more of those, so you need to do exactly the same process for that. And while you're in there, it's worth cleaning up any other bits of dirt you can see around the triggers and around particularly around the seams on the main housing as well. Can get pretty minging. Okay, so now we've cleaned all 4 of the green analog stick sensors. All we need to do is put it back together. So take your analog stick covers and they just push straight on. They're rectangle rather than square, so they only go one of 2 ways, and they just push straight on. It's worth cleaning these out as well. And then all we have to do is drop that into the front plate. Now this is the tricky bit because this ribbon cable that we took out earlier needs to come through this small rectangular hole in the main piece here. And it can get quite fiddly. Now, if you are struggling, what you can do is take a small piece of paper like this, thread it through the hole we want it to, and use that to guide the ribbon cable back through. Obviously take the piece of paper out if you do use one, and then what you need to do is push that ribbon cable back into the housing there. It is reinforced, so you can push it. Obviously don't be too brutal, otherwise you'll bend it or snap it. If you just gently wiggle it with your finger, it'll slowly go in until the white line is level with the plastic housing. Once that's on, all we need to do is attach the battery housing. It does have these small pins on here, which will just let it sit straight on top, like so. Take your silver screw, stick that in, and screw that back down. Once that's on, we need to take the battery, put the battery back in. Remember, the black cable is going to go at the top. And again, this just pushes in with your fingers. Like so. And that will sit just on the top there. Okay, once that's done, we're on to the next trickiest part, and that's getting the back plate ribbon cable back into its connection on the board there. Again, line them up so you know which way up it goes. It's slightly reinforced, not as much as the other one, so you can push a little bit on it, but then all you want to do is just push that back into the housing. Depending on how your controller's made, this could be really easy or it could be quite fiddly. This one's actually quite easy. Once that's on, just push the two halves together, making sure the plastic part at the front where the light sensor is goes into the little gap above the board there. Squeeze it together until it clicks all the way around. Okay, so once we've done that, all we need to do is put the 4 screws in the back. But before we do that, we want to test it. So if there's any problems, we don't have to start taking the screws out again. So making sure that the whole case is fully clipped into place. So you press your PlayStation button. That should put the light on. If it doesn't, take the back off, check that the battery is connected properly. If it does, fire up your console and then test all of your buttons. Okay guys, that's pretty much it for this video. Your controller should be good to go now and you shouldn't get any more drift problems. Leave me a comment down below what your favourite game is, and until the next time, live better.